Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of our discourse on Unravel. And we hope to dig deep into something that is very prevailing in our time and something that I consider a pandemic. And it's the pandemic for a need to tell and a need to show. There's this prevailing pressure on our generation to just keep telling and keep showing. And I think that it's a disease, it's an infection that needs to be addressed. So join us on this journey and we hope to have a productive conversation. All right, today I have with me Abigail and Wumi on this discussion. I think that we live in a very interesting time, a time where and when there is so much talking and so much showing. And I have nothing against telling and showing because we are a city set on a hill that cannot be hid. So at some point in our lives, there will be a showing, either by our doing or by timing and season. There will be a showing. We are designed to be shown. We are cities set on a hill that cannot be hid and maybe should not be hid. But there is an imbalance. The imbalance that we have is that there is this constant pressure to tell and to show. Tell what we have, show what we have, tell where we are going, show where we are going. And on the premise of this, there has been untold battles. Many of us have had to face untold battles in our lives, not because there's an enemy chasing our destinies, but because of the things that we have revealed of our destinies. And then we have provoked undue enemies, both in the spirit and in the physical, on the platform, and because of the things that we are saying and the things that we are showing. And I think that we need to address that. Sometimes we say too much. Sometimes we show too much. You will show. If you travel to a certain country and you want to just celebrate your experience, you will show that I was in the US, I was in Canada, right? But sometimes we show too much. There's a need to tell. You want to start a business, you want to talk to a brother, a friend, for advice. You must tell, but sometimes we also tell too much. So how do we define the borderlines around when we are speaking too much or when we are showing too much? It's a very strange question. Okay? It's taking like 2 years to answer. So maybe let me try with me. How do you draw that borderline? Do you think you know how to draw the borderline around what is said too much or what is shown too much? Maybe to help you understand the premise for this question is a verse in the Bible where Jesus said to his disciples in John 16, I think verse 12, he said that I have so much to say to you, but you can't handle it. That's a very powerful suggestion. He's within a time frame in time, because he's from divinity, he's from eternity, he comes into time. So he knows that there's a timetable to his being here, and he's saying to the key players that there's so much I want to say to you, but you can't handle it. What that simply means is that there's nothing wrong with what I want to say to you. There are no lies in the things I want to say to you. In fact, you need to hear the things I want to say to you, but you do not have the capacity to handle, to contain, to process the things that I have to say to you. And I think that is true with many friendships that we have, with spouses that we have, with family members that we have. Joseph got into many troubles because he said too much and he showed too much. You see, so many times we've gone into a lot of trouble because we have said things to people who do not have the capacity to handle, to contain, and to process the things that we are telling and that we are showing. So somehow you have made enemies and you're trying to wonder, how did things become so bad between me and my friend? And you have no idea that it was a testimony you shared on Tuesday morning. You called her and you were giving her all the downloads of how good the Lord has been to you. And in your attempt to share that testimony, you may have said so much. And this is why the spirit of discernment is very critical. Because even when you speak the truth, and when you share testimonies out of an honest place, and when you're trying to show something from a good heart, you still need to have discernment to know what is enough to show and what is too much to show. What is enough to say and what is too much to say. Even if what you have to say is the truth, even if what you have to say appears to be needed, but sometimes you may be saying more than the person can handle, can contain, or can process. I have so much to say to you, but you can't handle it. And many times I've seen marriages go through struggle because the husband says to the wife something that she can handle. I've seen marriage go through struggle because the wife has said to the husband something that he can handle. And many times there are two factors to look at here. Sometimes it's the state of the person receiving the information. The state of the person. Sometimes it's the timing of the information. And these two things look similar, but they are not. Because sometimes the state of a man can abuse even the timing. It means that even if it seemed like the right time, I was in the wrong state. You see? And it's possible that I could be in the right state, but you came to me at the wrong time. That information was not mature enough to have been revealed at the time. I'll give you a good example. Abigail and I could be very close, and we could have a major quarrel. And I go and speak to my wife about it, that Abigail insulted me. It's very possible that in 2 weeks' time, I will forgive Abigail. But it's also very possible that it may take my wife 2 years to forgive Abigail. It's not because of what Abigail has done, it's probably because of the timing with which I said what I said. If I'd waited for 2 weeks, I would have forgiven Abigail still. And then after 2 weeks, if I had told my wife that, 3 weeks ago, see what Abigail did though, but anyway, I'm forgiving her. We are now, it is okay now. See, at that point, there's a different way that she receives the message, only because of the timing of the information, not the content. I was still offended by what Abigail did, and she still did what she did. But the difference was that I waited 2.5 weeks to tell my wife about it. At the time I told my wife about it, I have reconciled with Abigail. So she received that information very differently. But if I had gone to her 2 days afterwards, I would have been still hurting. So when I speak about it, I will speak about it in pain. Yeah. So she will receive the information in pain. So that timing is critical. She may be in the right state, but the timing was not right. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. So sometimes when we talk about the showing and the telling, it doesn't mean that we're trying to publicize our prosperity, our successes, our increases, our growth. It could even be something about a pain that we're going through. Sometimes people can even handle our pain as much as they can handle our successes. And it's critical to have the discernment, the maturity, to know when is the right time to show and to tell, whether it's our pain or our success. Because many times, the people to whom we speak and to whom we show do not have what it takes to process, to regulate, and to handle, to contain the things that we're saying and the things that we're showing. And it's a big bother because this simple matter has brought a lot of complication to many lives. So, with these few points of mine, I'm going to come back again to my question. What do you think, with what has been seen and said, do you think forms the borderline around the things that should be said, the things that should be shown, and maybe even the persons to whom they are said, or to whom they are showed?
This is a very interesting topic. So I think that what shows the borderline between, I think that's the question, right?
Yes.
When it should be said, or what is being said and to whom it is being said to. I think the intention matters. You could be sharing an information. So I don't think I'll get this right.
Because if it's the intention may be
right.
But
the way the person
may not be in the right state to receive
they are telling them.
exactly, even if your intentions were right. So the intention may be right. For example, I may have very good intentions on telling my wife that Abigail offended me, right? So I have good intentions, but I can't control her reaction.
True.
And I may have unlocked a terrible reaction because of the timing with which I said what I said. You see that now? So sometimes you may have good intentions for saying the things that you're saying. Even when you put a post on social media, you may have good intentions to do what you're doing, but we need to regulate by discernment. So I think this has a lot to do with discernment. So I would say that what defines the borderline, I've mentioned two of them. Number one is the timing of that information. Number two is the state of the recipient of that information, because you may have an idea that this is what Wumi is going through right now, and then you know that she just applied for a job and she didn't get it, and you know that she's been trying to get a job for the past 6 months, and then you just run to her one fateful evening and say stuff like, "Hi, Wumi, my sister, I have testimony. Sis, what did happen? Do you know that I got a call from 8 different companies for a job? I don't even know what to choose. I don't even know. I'll even do them small year and gossip." You know what I'm saying? And meanwhile, Wumi just told you 3 days ago how she was awake doing midnight prayers because she's been trusting God for a job for 6 months. And then you come with the tone you come to share your testimony without any sort of empathy to the state that she was in. So it's good news, but she can't handle it. And then suddenly you realize that Wumi stopped picking your calls. And you're wondering, what happened? We didn't quarrel, we had no issues at all, but suddenly she's not picking my calls. Then you now call Abigail. Can you imagine? I've been calling Wumi, she's not picking my calls. I don't even know what's wrong with her. Meanwhile, you had no regards for the state she was in when you gave the information. So timing and the state of the recipient is very critical. Okay, and for the timing, sometimes if the input of the recipient is not critical to your next decision, if I come to give you an information and your input is not very critical to my next decision on that subject, it means that information can wait. If I'm uncertain about how you will receive it, then it means that maybe I can wait 2 more days. And if you wait long enough, something will happen that will even trigger the conversation organically. You'll see that maybe in 3 days' time, same person will come to you, and then something will trigger that conversation organically that you can now begin to bring up the matter as a reference, in reference to what we're discussing. In fact, I even forgot to mention to you, do you know that 3 days ago, this is what happened? And then, see, it sinks. Okay, so I would say that these 2 or 3 elements are very critical. Now, let me make another reference. Many times, we provoke not just bad responses, but we provoke battles. The spirit world, however you want to be social, you want to be exposed, you want to be, what do you call it, Gen Z?
Gen Z.
Whether you are Gen Z, you are Gen Y, or you are Gen O, however much you want to be very modern and secular, we need to say that there is a spirit realm. A spirit realm that has antennas. And when certain things have not properly cooked themselves in the process, and you uncover them too early, you stand the risk of provoking battles. Now, let me say this here. Battles are a constant. You're going to be fought by people. You're going to be fought by principalities. You're going to be fought by demons. But some of those fights will have no telling on you because you are guaranteed victory if you are in a safe place, if you are in the proper tower, okay? However, if you show yourself too early, you may deprive yourself of the proper, adequate security to buffer against those battles. And many times, when we speak too early, there are antennas that pick it up and begin to engineer battles. So the 3 wise men were taking a journey to go and see the king that was born in the manger. And they stopped by a royal house where the Herod lived to pay their homage. We are in your area. We didn't bring you come. We are going to see, we saw a star. We'll talk about this more in a different episode. Okay. We saw a star, and the star is of a child, and the child is a child king. That simple telling of that missionary journey led to the death of thousands of young people. Battles that were unnecessary. If they had just gone straight to where they were going, just followed the star, they would have saved thousands of babies. All right, but because they spoke to the wrong person, a battle began, and there was mourning in the land because of just 2 minutes of speaking. All right, so let me like.
So, sir, does it mean that because now I can probably have a friend that we have conversations about things? Does it mean I should be very quiet, or they said power of silence? From now on, I'll mind my business. I'm not going to tell her anything. How are you? Oh, I'm fine. How is everything? Oh, everything is fine. So does it mean that we shouldn't talk to people about what's going on in our lives? Just be quiet, isolation. Just be on your own, run your battle. How then do we know exactly what to say and what not to say?
Yeah, so it still comes back to the 2 things we're discussing. Number 1 is the timing of what you're saying. Like we said, many things should be said. Many things should be shown. Like when we began, we said that we are a city set on a hill that cannot be hid, right? So there's going to be a showing. There's going to be a telling. We must tell and we must show. But there must be that understanding, that discernment of the timing for which we are telling or we're showing, and then the discernment of the state of the person to whom we are telling.
Okay.
So another factor is who you are telling.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong with telling people, but you must be sure of who you are telling. You must be sure of who you are showing. All right? You can't live your life void of discernment. Good intentions do not necessarily justify every action. And that's a different whole episode. We'll talk about actions and intentions. But that you had good intentions for saying it to the person does not mean that it was the right thing to do. So you must know who you are telling. Not everyone should hear what you have to say. And even when you find the right people to tell, there is a timing for which it must be said. And there's a state, like I may be the right person for you to come and share a problem with. But you must be sensitive that I'm in the right state. You can't ignore my state. If you know that Apeh is going through so much right now, what you come to say to me is critical. It doesn't mean you shouldn't talk to me, even if I'm going through stuff. But what you say to me is critical. Number 4 or 5 now is how you say what you say. I give an example of someone coming to meet Wumi. Let's assume that Wumi was in search of a job for 6 months, and a friend gets a job from 5 different companies. There's a way that she will come to talk to you, that you will receive it with joy, and you want to just support her. But there's a way she will come to say to you that she will put you down. Wumi, I don't. 5 companies. Then she doesn't say, you said, why you never even get a job yet now? There's a way she says it that can hurt the hearer. So how you say what you say is critical. You may say enough, but you may be saying the wrong way. These issues, when you look at it with the backdrop of many aspects of our lives, you get to see how serious it is. Even when you're speaking to your husband, even when you're speaking to your wife, she goes to work, she's usually back home by 5 p.m. And then this very day she comes home by 7 p.m. And just before she gets home, you call her by 6:30. And you say, where are you now? Where are you now is the question you're asking me. I come home every day at 5 and you call me by 6:30 and your first question is, where are you now? What's your impression of that question? Your husband calls you, you come home every day by 5 o'clock. Then this day, for whatever reason, let's not even talk about the reason why you were late. This particular day, you don't show by 5 p.m. Then by 6:30, he calls you and says, Umi, where are you now?
Doesn't show empathy, doesn't show concern, and I'll just be provoked.
What do you think he should have said?
Is anything the problem? Why are you not home? Are you okay?
Are you okay? Should be the first question. Hello, babe, are you okay? That's the first question because it shows concern. It shows care. Are you fine? Oh yeah, babe, I'm fine. Okay. Where are you? You're not home yet. Are you okay? Oh yeah. My boss gave me an assignment. I was going to even call you, but I forgot to call you. And I'm just doing the best I can to just catch up with, getting home as soon as possible. Thank you so much for checking up on me. But if he calls you and he says, where are you now? You're already under pressure that you're not yet home. You are even angry at your boss who gave you the assignment. Then the first thing you say to me as my husband is, where are you now? So how you say what you say is very critical. Even when you're sharing a good news to a friend, to a family, to a loved one. I'm planning to build a new house, so in fact, it will be the biggest in the family. I'm planning to build a new house. Please pray for me. You see, that's a whole different conversation. Oh, wow, bro, I want to build it. The Lord will help you. But when you say, I want to build a new house, and it will be the biggest in the family, you have just raised enemies. Yeah. The family itself will gang up against you. To say, this house, I want to, let us see. You do like this. Right? And in Africa, this
means a lot.
It means the initiation of witchcraft. Witchcraft is not when somebody flies in the air.
Yes.
The mindset of a person towards you can be an expression of witchcraft. Yeah. So when they begin like this, it has begun. And the only reason that began was the way you shared an important information. It was an important information. Yeah. But the way you shared it began to provoke battles. You see that now? So I think we've highlighted a number of things that could be the reason why, we're running out of time. That could be the reason why people can face untold battles. And I'm sure there's a whole lot more to say. So we're going to try to continue this conversation in the next episode with the hopes that I will hear more from you and me. Okay? Yeah, but in the next episode, we're going to talk a bit deeper about how to structure what to say. We began that journey already, but there's a dimension of this that I want us to dig deeper in. Because if you have a genuine heart and you want to live right, you must speak the truth. How do you position yourself when someone close to you asks you a question for which you must convey the truth, but it's something you wish you didn't have to say? So we're going to talk about that in the next episode. Is there something you want to say before we shut this down?
All right. So I think, majorly, I would like to pinpoint. You have mentioned things about battles, and sometimes people may humanly react to things they did not imagine that they would react to, because as Gen Zs, we fight more in our minds. You can genuinely, that's why this topic is very important. They can genuinely receive an information from you as a friend, but they don't intend to react the way they are reacting. That's why I say that this topic is very, very important, because I can share a good news with you and sincerely you are happy for me. But the fact that you shared a good news with me and probably did not consider my state can begin to make me feel less of myself unconsciously. Apart from that area, I think that as individuals too, we should make a personal effort to build ourselves and to build our capacity, because we can't keep making excuses of my friend shared this with me so it made me feel less of myself. I think it's very important for us to also build our capacity, because in life, as you go further, there are so many things you should be able to deal with more. Other priorities will come into you, and if we keep being in a state of not being able to bear things, we are limiting ourselves and we are limiting what God can do in us and through us, because we do not have the capacity to bear things. So in as much as the power of silence is very important, how we say things, what we say, I also think that it's very important that as individuals, as young people, because I think we did an episode that talked about pressure and people doing New Year goals based on pressure. So if you have not watched that video, I think you should go and watch it, because in as much as you are seeing so many things on social media, sometimes it may not be your friend saying it, but it's putting pressure on you, it's making you look down on yourself. So I really think that it's a good thing that it still falls back to what we said in the previous episode. That's why it's important to watch as a follow-up. Focus more on building yourself into what God has made you to be and what God has called you to be, because it can help you to bear more, so that as the other person is also trying to pass an information to you in the right way and the way that they feel is okay, sometimes the other party may not know that there's a proper way to share an information with you. So it also falls back to us as individuals to building ourselves to be able to bear more things and not keep staying in a place of I can't always bear, or being affected by other people sharing either their success story to us or probably a pain they are going through, because sometimes people can relate more with your pain. Like when you are sharing pain, they will tell you more. They will tell you they want to share more with you, or they want you to share your pain with them more. But when you begin to share your success with them, they begin to react another way. So I also think that, just like we have said in the previous video, for us to connect more with ourselves, we shouldn't be social distance with ourselves. It still falls back to building up into what we should be, building up more. Because I think that Jesus' example we gave, if the disciples had built up themselves more, they would have the capacity to bear what Jesus had to tell them. Just like Mary had the capacity to bear Jesus in her womb. She didn't have to shed so much for that to be aborted. So as individuals too, we should build ourselves into being able to bear things, being able to bear burden, because we can't go far if we cannot bear burden. And I think you've told me severally that every blessing comes with burdens. You must be able to have the capacity to bear things. So as people who are looking forward to going far, and we as individuals knowing how we share information with others, we should also build ourselves to be able to bear things. We should also build ourselves, because greatness is a burden. So if you want to be great, you must bear. You must be able to hold things in your inside. You must be able to bear. You must build. As you are building spiritually, you must be able to build yourself emotionally. It's okay if you find out that, oh, I noticed that I'm reacting, because there are times that I'm being caught reacting a certain way. I didn't intend to react that way, but you always catch me. So, like, Abby, I saw it in your face that you're reacting this way. It's okay that we find out we are because sometimes you don't intend to react a certain way, but because of your human nature and you've not built your capacity in a level, it just begins to show that flesh part of you that you've not killed, or that part of you that you've not built yet. So in as much as other people are trying to know how they share information with you, as a person, build yourself to be able to bear things, because that way God can trust you with more things, and then the people in your life too can trust you with more things and not overthink how you'll be able to bear the information. I think that's what I have to say.
So I'd like to add that all the keys mentioned are important. When to say, to whom to say to, and how to say it. If you default in one, you default in all. So take for an example, the story of Esther and Mordecai. Somehow she got into the king's palace. Somehow they were preparing her for the king. She was already the king's wife, and she didn't just walk up to him and say, they want to kill my people. She strategized. And then she knew that, oh, this is the time and this is how to say it. If she had walked into the king's place carelessly, or anyhow, it wouldn't have ended well for Mordecai, the whole Jew, to have been very bad. Even though it is the same intention that she's trying to portray, or the same action, when and how she did it would have mattered and would have just spoiled things. So this is just to say that if you default in one, you default in all. Do not think that because you said it to the right person and you said it right, so because you did not say it at the right time, that is going to turn out well. No. If you default in one, you default in all. I'd like to cite this example. When I wrote my WAEC, checked my result and it was good, even though some of my friends failed. So I was so excited. At around like 9 p.m, I just wanted to show my mom the result. I even failed. Immediately I showed her, I took it to a family friend. Not the child, the parents, that's the wife and the husband, yes. I went there and I'm excited, dashed into their room. Daddy, my result, this is my WAEC result. Never knew that daddy and mommy were fighting. And I just dashed into their room. Daddy, I've written my WAEC. Daddy just walked past. This is my result. And this is somebody that we've been praying for this thing together. Went to mommy. Honestly, daddy did not say anything. He walked past me like I was not there. Daddy is not a bad person. But what he's going through at that point is bigger than whatsoever joy I have at that time. Even though that was my greatest achievement for me at that point, it was not the best time for daddy. Even though he's really happy for me, he did not say anything. He just walked past. And then I went to mommy. She just looked at it and said, thank God. I went back home disappointed. I even forgot of how happy I was. And that was it. But it doesn't make them bad people. It doesn't make my news bad. It doesn't make my news sad. Just that it was the wrong time.
Yeah, I agree completely. And we'll continue this conversation in the next episode. So we look forward to seeing you. Thank you so much. We love you.
Thank you.